Haribol, Namaste. My name is Janapati Das, and we are going to get into our next class of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, translated and purported upon by my spiritual grandfather, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And at this moment, I'd like to offer my respects to you. Thank you for tuning in. I'd also like to pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Jagat Guru Siddhaswarapananda Srila Prabhupada, and to my spiritual grandfather, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We will start off this class with some hearing and chanting, so please join along. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Korakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prestayate Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gorakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prestayate Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Priyanreta Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So we are continuing. Welcome. We are going to continue with our reading through chapter 1, where Arjuna is basically laying out his reasoning why he shouldn't be fighting this battle of Kurukshetra. He's trying to explain to Krishna all the logic and things that he can muster up from his own mental speculation and ability to argue why this is a bad idea. So we're starting at text 36, and the Sanskrit goes as follows. Papam evashrayed asman hatvaitan atatayina tasmanara vayam hantum Dhritarashtran svabandhavan svajanam hi katam hatva shukinaha shyama madhava. Papam, vices. Eva, certainly. Ashrayat, must take upon. Asman, us. Hatva, by killing. Etan, all these. Atatayinaha, aggressors. Tasmat, therefore. Na, never. Arha, deserving. Vayam, us. Hantum, to kill. Dhritarashtralan, the sons of Dhritarashtra. Svabanavan, Havan, yeah, that's it. Along with friends. Svajanam, kinsmen. He, certainly. Katam, how. Hatva, by killing. Shukina, happy. Shama, become. Madhava, O Krishna, God, husband of the goddess of fortune. Purport. Translation. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. This is Arjuna trying to argue to Krishna about why he should not fight. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? So sin, the real translation of sin is doing those things that are not sanctioned by God or against God. And so it's very interesting in saying that we'll cure sin for killing. Basically, he's saying we're going to get karmic reaction, which Krishna will make an argument against. Purport. According to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. Number 1, the poison giver. Number 2, one who sets fire to the house. Number 3, one who attacks with deadly weapons. Number 4, one who plunders riches. Number 5, one who occupies another's land. And number 6, one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting for any ordinary man, but Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. Because as a warrior and aggressor, it's true. As an administrator, you can't be a wimp. You gotta be, it's good to be, have morals and saintly qualities, but you also can't be a wimp. And you have to deal with all kinds of people. If you're a leader of a country, you have to deal with different countries, some rogue countries, people who are causing problems, and you've got to be tough with them. Just like a father would be tough with their children if they're being not orderly. Although a responsible man for this administration of the state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people were anxious to live in his kingdom, Rama Rajya. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because he kidnapped Rama's wife Sita, but Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on the grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not, therefore, consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen? So it's a very good point. Pandavas, they were not particularly attached to the enjoyment of their kingdom. They were great saints, and the great saintly kings of the past were never attached. They would, because they were kshatriyas and administrators, and they understood that the things that were given to them was part of the will of God, they would use them in the service of God. And when they had to leave their body at the time of death, they just stripped down everything down to their loincloth, and they just went off to the forest to basically meditate until they left their body. And they would leave behind their kingdom, their wives, their children, everything. Arjuna's addressing of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of the goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out that to Krishna that as husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not have induced Arjuna to take up the matter that which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. So it's very interesting. He's kind of like saying these different things. He's like, don't. It's like when you're praying to God and you're like, you're making me do this, or you're, it's like this is really not for the best thing, and you want me to do this, but it's going to bring, because you're the husband of the goddess of fortune, it's misfortune to kill your relatives. That's sort of what the argument that Arjuna is making here, which is kind of funny, talking to God and telling him how he's doing things. Text 37 and 38. Yadyapi ete na pashanti lobo pahata chetashaha kula kashaya kritam dosham mitra drohe cha patakam katham na ganeyam asmabihi papad asman nirvatitum kula kashaya kirtam dosham prapashyad bir janardan. Yadi, if, api, certainly, ete, they, na, do not, pashanti, see, loba, greed, upahata, overpowered, cheta, shaha, the heart, kula, kashaya, in killing the family, kritam, done, dosham, the fault, mitra dohe, quarreling with friends, cha, also, patakam, sinful reactions, katam, why, na, shall not, ganeyam, know this, ashma bihi, by us, papat, from sins, ashmat, ourselves, nirvar itum, nirvat titum, to cease, kula kashaya, the destruction of a dynasty, kritam, by doing, dosham, crime, prapashyadbihi, by those who can see, Janardan, O Krishna. Janardan, of course, is another name of Krishna. O Janardan, this is a translation. Although these men, Overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends. Why should we, with knowledge of the sin, engage in these acts? Purport. A Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. So we've seen this in different situations with the Kshatriyas. And there was a reason why the Pandavas had to go off into the forest. One of the times he basically was challenged by Shakuni and Duryodhana to a dice match, which they lost. Under such obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he was challenged by the party of Duryodhana. So it's a code. It's an ethic. Kshatriya, if you're challenged to fight, you need to fight. That's the part of the ethics of the code of Kshatriyas. In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight. So it is a very interesting thing. It is actually, the battle is Krishna's part of his mission on the planet to alleviate the demoniac Kshatriya, part of the demoniac princes and kings and Kshatriyas. So were they blind? Yes, I think most of them were blind to that, but that was part of Krishna's thing. But actually, this is a very wonderful thing. Krishna puts Arjuna into this state so that we have the Bhagavad Gita, so that this whole philosophy of really basically everything is put forth for all mankind to see and read and contemplate. Text 39, Kula Kashaye Pranashyanti Kula Dharmaha Sanatana Dharme Nashte Kulam Krishnam Ardharmo Bibiva Avatyauta. Sorry if I'm slaughtering the Sanskrit. Kula Kashaye, in destroying the family. Pranashyanti, becomes vanquished. Kula Dharmaha. The family traditions. Of course, we have the Kula, is kind of like the family or like a dynasty. And Dharma is, of course, tradition can be translated as religion or tradition, the duty of mankind, depending on where it's being applied. Sanatana, eternal, right? So we know the Sanatan Dharma, right? The eternal function of the living entity. So Dharma in religion, Nashte, being destroyed, Kulam, family, Krishnam, wholesale, Dharma, irreligious, Abhibhavanti, transforms, Uta, it is said. With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligious practice. So it's very interesting because there are rules and regulations of the Vedic traditions to keep society together that are set forth in the Vedas. But I find it very interesting that Arjuna is talking about religion, and Krishna will really actually talk about the eternal function of the living entity, and explaining to Arjuna that the living entity is beyond the body and the mind, and that all these coverings are not really the true spirit soul, nor is it really the function the function of the living entity to speculate about what you think is good. Rather, Krishna directs the eternal function of the living entity. And this is why we connect ourselves back up with Krishna through the via medium of our spiritual master, who also guides us in our Sanatan Dharma. Purport. In the system of the Varnashram institution, there are many principles of religious traditions to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family, beginning from birth to death. But on death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Therefore, no purpose should be Therefore, for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain. So this is a Vedic. So here Arjuna is basically stating true Vedic principles. So that if for no reason, if you were going to kill off the elderly members of your family, or the way that people treat their elderly members of their family by putting them in homes and just forgetting about them and abusing them and whatnot, it's actually very sinful to treat your family members who have taken care of you for so long for that. But this is, of course, Arjuna is trying to pull out of a completely different context of what Krishna is explaining. Text 40. Adharma bibhavat Krishna pradushyanti kula striha strishu Pradushyanti kula striyaha strishu dushtashu varshneya jayate varna sankara. Adharma, irreligion. So then we would put the A in front of the dharma, right before the word. It flips the meaning. A lot of times we use that in English, like we have tonal and atonal, that which is tonal in music, and that which is not tonal have a tonal center, right? So abhibhavat, having been predominant, Krishna, O Krishna, pradushyanti, become polluted, kula striyaha, family ladies, strishu, of the womanhood, dushtasu, being so polluted, varshneya, O descendant of Vrishni, jayate, it becomes varna sankara, unwanted progeny. Translation: when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt, and from the degeneration of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. So that's that is very true. In the Vedic system, they have these things kind of set in place because when you have taboos and when you have guidelines in society, they're there because there's an understanding that there are bad things that people should not do, or else there's going to be problems. Well, no, in modern day society, anything goes. It's like we don't really want religion in our family. We don't want to do anything with religion in society. We don't want to, have any prayer in school. We've kind of quarter the religious people in on Sundays to do their thing, and even the people in churches we have the craziest people, trying to argue the most immoral kind of things, as we've seen, that you can basically be anything you want, and people should accept that because out of the sort of idea that you should love everyone, which is true, but that the argument of these people is that and these are people who are wearing the priestly garbs and stuff, so they're completely way off base. They're like Jesus would say, I don't even really want to go into it, but you know what I'm talking about. That there's a lot of people arguing things that are not true, that Jesus would never have accepted, that there is no